next guest is WEFA, right? I'm saying this right this time, not WEFA.
Yeah, WEFA, yeah. Thanks for having me. Really enjoyed hearing about BDAO, and just these town halls in general. I think this like the conversation I definitely vibe with, and yeah, it feels it's cool to be able to share what I'm working on. All right, let me share my screen. So a little background about me. So currently, this was recently mentioned, I'm a part of Greenpill, and I'm currently the steward of LA and the Dev Guild. I've mainly been working Dev Guild lately and trying to get like some projects off the ground. We're actually currently doing a grant ship round where we're like allocating money to different regen game projects. So just been working in that space, and just love to talk about green pill and regenerative stuff. If anybody has anything they want to talk about, just reach out. Can you guys see my screen?
Loading. Screen. I got loading dots. Anybody else? Oh, there it is. Yes, I can see your screen.
Okay. I want to make it full screen if I can. It's just full screen. Okay, cool. So, see if that looks correct from my end. It looks like it's lagging a little bit. Are you guys still see? Is it still full screen for you guys, or?
I see the notes on the side still.
The notes, yeah. Okay. Interesting. Okay. Oh, okay. Because it changed the tab. There we go. This is correct. Cool. Yeah. So. Yep. Yeah. See it. Cool. All right. So yeah. WEFA. WEFA stands for Water, Earth, Fire, Air. The name actually comes from if you've watched Avatar: The Last Airbender. The intro, which Katara says like water, earth, fire, air. So that kind of was the inspiration for the name. And WEFA is focused on finding ways to connect people to nature in a fun way, and like using fun and play to both learn and educate, teach and educate people about the environment. So yeah, let's dive in. So a few problems that or okay, there we go. It wasn't updating in the Discord. A few problems that I noticed generally were that like games are isolating, like most current like Web 2 games, I guess, or just games in general. Most of them are like encourage physical and like social isolation, like you play on your own device and you're playing by yourself. And then also with data ownership, which like a lot of us know from the Web3 space, that like games just lack proper asset and that data ownership. So like the assets that you earn and win, you don't really own, and could easily be rubbed if that company takes their service now. And then the last one is around like kind of environment. That like environmental work for is pretty niche, and typically, especially when it comes to like young people, it's not something that they tend to naturally gravitate to, especially more generations spend more times indoors rather than outside. So those are a few of the problems that I've noticed currently. So what are some solutions to this? So with WEFA, the goal is to create an outdoor adventure that removes people from like physical isolation and brings them outside and uses nature as its playground. Like most kids used to be before we had smartphones and stuff like that. We spent a lot of time outside. So WEFA's focus on trying to reinforce those behaviors by using the new like digital tech that we have, like AR and spatial computing and things like that. The second part is around on-chain assets and logic. So bringing the assets and the logic for gameplay on chain, so that both the ownership is controlled by the player and users, and then the logic itself is also transparent and can be audited and reviewed by anyone. And then last is creating like a nature metaverse. I know metaverse isn't the. I tried to think of another word instead of metaverse, but just I think metaverse is a word I currently stuck upon. If anybody could suggest something else, let me know. But basically, like creating this spatial world that connects, physical plants with digital creatures and games, and in a way to where there's a symbiotic relationship created between the two. As the more you care for the plants, the more you can do within the digital space, and then the more you do in the digital space, it makes you want to care for plants. So that's the goal with WEFA. So kind of diving into a little bit of the game. So yeah, WEFA is a like spatial game experience where the environment and the digital worlds converge. So players care for real plants that help to empower their journey within the game and allow them to unlock different creatures, do elemental battles and games like board games, and have like a community-driven realm where they're able to also create their own user scans and different things that are tied to the creatures. So it's kind of for like a loop of four things. So we start with nurturing, right? We start with the plant and caring for the plant, which help to boost the creature's growth. And then as the creature grows, you can evolve it and has the creature unlock new abilities. Then third is then playing with that creature, playing in different spatial board games, like from as simple as tic-tac-toe to maybe like chess, things like that. Just really trying to like just take games that already exist that people play like in family settings and different settings, and just bring them to the AR spatial world, and then using your creatures as like the placeholders. For example, with the tic-tac-toe, one creature would be like your creature would be the X if you're X, and then your opponent would be the O, and that the creature would be the placeholder for that. And then the last thing is expanding. So once you play, then you could collect, trade, create different skins for your creatures, stuff like that that you can then sell within the community. The second part of WEFA that really, to me, is actually just as important as the game is the story. So WEFA has an underlying lore, which reinforces the core concepts. Kind of, you could think of like, maybe Pokemon, how it has like the story and characters that tie into like the card game. To where it follows the elemental journey of four young college students who go to a futuristic university, like in like 2070, so like 30 years in the future, or was that 30 years? My bad, can't even do math correctly. 50 years in the future, to where they go to this university that's brings in different kids from across the world, and they through that story they are introduced to this other world of creatures. I could go more in depth, but I'll just pause there. And if there's any questions about the story later, I could share the storyboard and kind of discuss the plot. But just know that the game is underlined by its own lore. And then kind of the tech, which I think is probably where a lot of people would have interest in and have thoughts on. So WEFA combines WebXR, PWAs, and blockchains for like a unique spatial gaming experience, while also using AI to we're calling it machine learning just a year ago, or a couple years ago, but now AI, I guess, for generating digital creatures and as well as identifying plants. So kind of like WebXR and PWA interface, autonomous world, so being fully on chain with MUD and from the Lattice team, and then using AI to both allow expressive creature generation and as well as detect plant health and plant care. I think the core value propositions with WEFA is nature education. Users learn about plants and local ecologies, and then also a tool for educators to spark and grow interest in nature. So actually, like one of the first, the go-to-market strategy with WEFA, once the beta is built, is actually focusing on school environments and like after-school programs. So environments where like you have a teacher who might have like a classroom garden and space that they want to help teach their students to care for plants. So focusing on those areas to help increase education and make learning fun. Games and activities, of course, spatial board games and plant care, where you're able to earn digital rewards and collectibles that can be traded with friends. So that kind of feeds into like a lot of things that's like growing up. I grew up with like Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh cards, all these different all these different card games. So being able to kind of tap into that in the digital sense, I think could be very powerful, while also still connecting it back to nature. And then the third, I think, is social interaction. that, as I kind of highlighted in the problems of like physical isolation, I think having a application that encourages people to play with each other both outside and in these different spaces while people interact, and let's isolate people to kind of being confined to their own screen and just playing by themselves. And then the last part is this asset ownership, which comes from the blockchain and having true ownership of your assets that could be easily traded and sold freely. And then last part is just the roadmap. So the present goals are just creating the beta game. And the beta game, like the beta version would just simply be pairing the plant to a creature, where as you care for a plant, your creature will grow. And then from there, develop more of the game elements and different aspects of the story. And then the other side, of course, is the story, and it's kind of creating like a pilot comic strip that kind of lays the foundation of WEFA from a story perspective and narrative. And yeah, so kind of first is foundation, second is then community, starting to build community, then trying to expand that community, and then diversifying into different markets and different partnerships. And I think that's it. If I can get to the last screen. I don't know. Let's not. Let me go to the next screen. I think it froze on me. Okay, this is. Anyways, the last screen is just a contact screen, so it's actually fine. But yeah, okay, there we go. Now it's just frozen for whatever.
Yeah, lagging a little bit. Discord hasn't been the most cooperative lately.
Well, that is WEFA in a nutshell. Thanks for listening, and if there's any questions or thoughts, we'd love to discuss.
As far as contact, I did drop the WEFA.app link and your Discord invite in the side chat here.
Nice.
And I guess the first question that came to mind was, are you doing anything with GeoWeb? We had Graven on speaking about GeoWeb and streaming quadratic funding. They're also working with Mud. They use Mud.
Yeah, I haven't. I've been recently looking into them and like just learning more, but I haven't like fully explored how like it could be integrated with WEFA, like how WEFA could work with GeoWeb. But I definitely see like the potential there. And I know, did you guys already do the Townhall with them?
Yeah, Graven was here. Was that last? That was last week, huh? Yeah, that was last week.
Okay.
We had Graven from GeoWeb, and then we had Mikhail and Jade for Greenpill. So it's actually a really great segue. You're here, Greenpill, LA, and then GeoWeb's looking for more use cases for what they've got going on, and it seems like WEFA is kind of a perfect fit. You mentioned a few times Pokemon Go. Graven uses the same exact words. Having media pinned to digital parcels that can then be viewed by a spatial browser in physical space. So it'd be really cool to maybe connect some dots there, some cross-pollination, and see what's going on. They have a really great team. They've been focusing a lot on streaming quadratic funding right now, but that could be also incorporated maybe into how you reward people for doing good. I could see even a crossover between VDAO, WEFA, and GeoWeb doing some really cool things.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think, I definitely love to explore with GeoWeb because, able to tap into what they've already created, then, it takes a lot of effort off my hands. And I definitely feel like this whole spatial, I feel like with Web3, like it kind of, the emerging tech of like blockchains really correlates well with like spatial worlds and like being able to anchor content and like have that ownership be like, on chain and transparent and like permissionless. So that's why like, I think there's a very cool relationship between the two. And then of course AI comes into it for like the kind of creative side of things and generating content. But yeah, really really interested to learn more about you.
Yeah. Hey, other people popping in, really cool. Yeah, I'm curious on that note too. How are you using Mud? Is that for? Are you using it for
Yeah.
storing the like the creatures, or for like each engagement that you're doing? Is that what's being stored on the stores or the chain?
Yeah, good question. So with WEFA, the goal is to have majority of everything on chain. So with Mud, a couple things on chain. Both like kind of the creature assets and plant assets. So the plants get a tokenized like NFT that maps 1-to-1 with them, as well as creatures that you generate and own, and those all interact with and those all are token bound accounts. So you can think about it like if you're familiar with token bound accounts and being able to like have NFTs have their own smart accounts, you can imagine that every creature and every plant, which is a token, also have its own smart account that is owned by a user profile account that's able to then execute different actions on the different accounts. So for creatures, nurturing them, feeding them, you would do directly via their account, which would then interact with the Mud world and systems to do that. Same with the plants if you were nurturing and stuff like that. And then also the last part would be the game logic, which also will live on chain. So the current games that I'm like focused on bringing on chain are this like spatial, turn-based games, because they just involve low transactions and like are able to more easily be brought on chain than more physics-based games. So those are the three core elements that live on chain. Yeah. So majority of the games on chain, except for some API elements around AI to like both generate the creatures and identify plants.
Okay, very cool. I shared a link for tokenbound in the side chat, and just recently in the GeoWeb browser too, to bring it back. Graven shared some stuff about smart wallets on Coinbase. So it's interesting to see. I feel like some, like you said in your talk, you were calling it machine learning, now kind of shifting language to AI, which I feel like isn't necessarily always the same thing, but like the tech is catching up with some of these concepts and ideas really fast, and it's cool to see, Mud on their stable audited new version, and yeah, I'm excited to like I want to play with WEFA, so I'm excited.
Yeah, I know it. Yeah, yeah, and I think to me because WEFA. Because initially, like when I was thinking in like this regen space, or like ideas to build, I started off with a lot more macro and was thinking like, around alongside of the sides of like blockchains being used to kind of like monitor big surface environments of like infrastructure from like canals and different things like that are nature driven and like, farms and all these things. And just over time was just thinking like, how could I create a more like macro level application that isn't focused too much on the macro that anybody can interact with and like find a use case. And I think actually, as I thought more about it, that like focusing on like I think focusing on the youth is actually super vital, rather than trying to like build solutions for like things like present in the present and stuff like that. Because I think by like focusing on younger people and like giving them the tools to like learn and like engage with it in their environment and nature, I think then when they have like that, become adults and have that knowledge, they could then do like put into place different like legislation action for different things that are environmentally aligned or sustainably focused. So yeah, that's kind of why like I chose to focus on the youth and creating like a fun experience. Yeah, for and my main people that I actually have my nephews. I have some of my nephews that I meet with every week to like do WEFA related stuff, to ask them questions and like to like test things by them, play different games to kind of see what type of games they like and things like that. So definitely building for like the age range of like 7 to 10, 12, middle school, elementary school age kids.
Yeah, I think that's a great target and a great way to onboard into the tech without all this kind of meta talk about the tech, right? It's just, hey, here's a game, play, you know.
Yeah, here's a game, and like
you're earning stuff.
Yeah, exactly, and like, and that's why, and then also like focusing, because I grew up with both my parents are teachers. I just like grew up in a lot of school environments, and even growing up, I was in a lot of after school programs because they were teachers, so they couldn't pick me up from school. So a lot of times, like, yeah, in those after school programs, like, would, of course, you do your homework, but then afterwards, you're like playing different games and board games, and it's different things like that. So I'm kind of trying to tap into that energy and find a way to combine that with nature to where you're looking forward to your biology class that your teacher, where you could go to the classroom garden and water your plants and then get rewarded, and now you could play a couple games with your friends, or the after school program where you could go check out your plants and then play games with the local kids that are also there. So yeah, that's the goal with WEFA, is just really to create that experience, and yeah, and then tie it to a story to where, because I think the game itself is valuable, but I think also having like a story narrative is just as important, because it allows the users to relate to the characters and kind of have a sense of ownership, and then the characters are a way to kind of present an example of how WEFA should be used. So throughout the story, the characters will be nature focused and focusing on regenerative actions to fight. So kind of like to fight the battles that they're fighting within the story will be kind of nature focused and using their elemental powers to fight different nature events, natural events. So yeah, that's kind of the story combining with the gameplay. But yeah,
I love it. I could see some interesting intersections between like reading the comic or watching an animated version of it, where there's kind of like Easter eggs throughout it that could help your creature gain some new things. Like if you happen to be reading at the right time, and some back and forth. There could be a really cool new kind of engagement, like you're saying, that I haven't really seen in very many series or games right now.
Yeah. Yeah, and I can share the storyboard if anybody's curious to see. Like, just like I won't go in depth, but I could just to give a sense of, because I already get the tip of the iceberg, like, because with WEFA is it's like a lot, so I try not to do a slow burn.
I'm more than open to seeing more. If anyone else has any questions, feel free to chime in. You can either type them inside or just unmute yourself and ask away. But yeah, please burn on.
Yeah, have any questions? Yeah, I'd love to.
I would love to see more of the storyboard and see what's going on.
Yeah, we'll do. All right, let's do that. Let's come to here. Okay, not click a link directly.
And so, where did this art come from? The character.
Yeah, the art. Yeah, so yeah, I could talk a little bit about the art, where it's currently at. So initially, I commissioned an artist to help with the character design, and have been able to like kind of get like the core characters designed and created. And that was done by artists based in Nigeria. So I was very intentional about finding an African artist, because the story also takes place in like a futuristic Africa. Kind of imagine like, I guess, yeah, I'll just give some people to be clear, like imagine like kind of a Wakanda type city in the future, but not super futuristic, but kind of like that like type of city. And yeah, so I commissioned artists to do that work. And I've now been kind of more exploring the creature side of things. because the creatures are like the next step to WEFA, or actually they're just as important as the characters. So that's something that is currently somewhat missing. I had some creatures created when I was initially thinking of doing more insect-based creatures, but now I'm looking to do more kind of animal creature-based creatures, animal type creatures. So yeah, I've been looking for artists to help execute that. Okay, here's a storyboard. I don't know where to start. I guess I'll start with and you guys able to see my screen? Okay, cool.
Yeah, I see a little bit of Dragon Ball, a little bit of Airbender.
Yeah, you can see, yeah, so like all those like kind of like mood boards are drawn from all of those for sure. So I guess I'll read through this plot. Yeah, just bear with me. So a group of college kids find themselves on an unexpected journey where worlds collide. Taking place in 2042 in a recently industrialized town in Nigeria, now part of a larger country called WAU, West African Union, with a newly minted university funded by a multinational corporation known as Corrupt, nicknamed Corrupt. Known for a rare mineral finding almost 100 years ago, and since then, pillaging the local lands, unknowingly causing an imbalance between two worlds. The most brightest and privileged students from all corners of the world are chosen to attend the university with a few locals allowed. In an unexpected turn during a Clash Force expedition, the group gain a set of unique abilities when wandering off into a cave and an earthquake hits. Though all coming from different backgrounds, they learn to trust each other, forging a deep connection not only to one another, but to this new world and creatures they found through their abilities. To address the issues caused by co-op, the group must lean on nature and community to find a solution and restore balance. That's basically the plot. Yeah. Hopefully that gives a decent understanding. And then, yeah, here's just kind of some things around the different themes and settings and motifs of the story. And then, yeah, here's for each of the characters their own like kind of story card or character card. And yeah, and then here's kind of still working on it, but this is a full first storyboard of the story. And yeah, as you can see, I kind of what I do is for each scene, I kind of just put the description, the characters involved, and the different aspects. Yeah, but yeah, just sharing this. If anybody has any thoughts, yeah, that's the storyboard.
Awesome. I like the futuristic vibe. I think there's something there about Africa kind of skipping a generation of technology, right? Where
yeah, definitely.
I do feel like there's going to be a huge like embracing of this kind of technology. Maybe there first because we don't have to unlearn or like redo.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I totally agree, and that's what like. Yeah. Of course, I am African, so like there's definitely some like influencer, I guess you could say bias there, like setting it. But I do truly believe that Africa in the future is kind of will become like kind of a hub for a lot of things, and also like become, I guess you could say, industrialized, which it has its pros and cons, right? But I think generally that like you'll see in Africa a lot of these think that futuristic cities and different things I think be developed there because it's just fertile ground and things haven't been built up yet. Like you don't have skyscrapers, you don't have all these different elements that maybe they aren't the best in society, but like if we just kind of are seeing where trends are going, it seems like that's probably what's going to happen. And that's why like the multinational corporation, that's the like kind of the antagonist of the story. That's why like they're kind of they built up this city and stuff like that. So it's kind of even implying that like the people that built the city aren't the best, but is this kind of like what has happened? And yeah, I guess I would hope that wouldn't happen, but I guess maybe slightly pessimistic that like most likely like that will happen because even being from Nigeria, when my parents being from Nigeria, like Shell is the oil company there, and it's like basically like doing the same thing like this corporation been doing for years of like kind of extracting resources with little like growth. So yeah, I think that trend probably won't change. The only thing that might change is that they might just invest more in the actual infrastructure here.
Yeah, I could see things similar to what Chris was mentioning too, of like rewards that are on chain, and similar to what you're saying with like the gamified aspect, but where people are getting rewarded for putting up solar panels or collecting rainwater, or things that help empower community by people doing it in numbers cooperatively, and kind of creating those network states, those intersections between communities and sharing resources by being able to track them on chain. I think is gonna there's huge potential there, right?
Yeah. And I think there's a couple other things I could mention about WEFA, like that, the WEFA pod, like the pod idea and different, and a lot of the stuff is kind of with WEFA, like is ideas, but also like concrete stuff that's like kind of being worked on. So like that's kind of looking like to kind of figure out what to focus on first. I think I have a sense of like just focusing on the simple MVP of combining plants and creatures is definitely like the core focus. But alongside that, there's kind of these other elements that I think are important for creating like the totality of WEFA, but might come later, such as like the WEFA pod idea that I think you've somewhat shared. I think in 2 weeks ago, maybe, in like for one of the other calls. Yeah. Yeah. Is there anybody have any questions? Dive into some more stuff. Just want to open it up. See Mikhail's here.
I could see Mikhail. Is he really here?
Am I here? Am I lurking?
That is inspired too.
Good cross-pollination. Greenpill to Greenpill.
Greenpill dump.
Let's go.
I wish I had my soundboard in here. That breaks my heart.
I thought, okay, that's true. I guess you're going to use it in here. So.
I was going to blast this up. There we go. Thank you.
I tried to find the least invasive one.
That's pretty solid. This is great so far. That's it.
Yeah, I'm really excited to see the development of this, and the storyboard and the storyline. It seems really cool. I love the crossover with like the Airbender, and like I'm excited. I want an episode in my hands. I want a comic in my hands. I want to, like, the game is cool, but I want to see the story evolve.
Yeah, I think the story. I love the story, or I love crafting the story. I guess that's what I should say. And yeah, I think a couple of things I could maybe mention from like the development side of things. So like lately, like WEFA, I haven't been working on WEFA as much because I just been so active in the Greenpill, specifically more like dev guild space and like focus on that. But what I've been like learning and like seeing through other people's projects, like you mentioned GeoWeb and a couple others that I've talked to, is like this kind of synergy and overlapping and interest. So like I've been more curious with WEFA actually about like looking to like form a team and actually like find like fellow co-founders to like build WEFA. So kind of before even trying to like restart this journey from the point to where I've like gotten things, my main goal is actually to like find like-minded people that believe in WEFA, believe in idea, or have ideas for it, that and kind of like come together to build them together, rather than because before I was like kind of building myself and like outsourcing different things and contracting work for different aspects. But I think that until you're able to convince like another person to like truly join the project, like things typically won't take off. So that's kind of my mindset right now, is that just really trying to actually find like-minded people to work with and like build this together, and we want to be like co-founders. Yeah, so I just want to mention that because I think it's a lot of work to do, and I know that I can't do it myself. And I know people have the skill sets or have connections and have the different ideas that like can, help WEFA get into people's hands. So, people could read the comics and play the game. But I just wanted to share that.